Lore Boys here. Hola, Lore Boys. I am James from Mexico, and I am joined with...
I would say it's Lore Boys here and Lore Boy there. I'm Ethan.
Yeah. I'm Peter O'Donohue. I'm also still in Canada, and Jamie's the one who's alone in Mexico, so let's be real. Quit flexing.
Lore Boys here, Lore Boy there.
Yeah, exactly.
Lore Boys worldwide.
Here, Lore Boys there, Lore Boys everywhere.
So today we are talking about a subject that I've wanted to talk about for a little bit, one that I'm very excited about because August 27th, it's coming up very soon. Oh, it's Ethan's birthday, by the way, everyone. You should know that.
Happy birthday.
As of date of recording, yes.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
It's Ethan's birthday no matter when you're listening to this. He's gonna age dramatically quickly.
Thank you. My birthday wish was to become the princess of the podcast.
Oh, is that what it was?
God,
yeah.
Your dad was impressed you managed to kill all those candles in one shot.
Yeah. Well, all I need is for Jamie and Peter to get married, become royalty, and then adopt me as their daughter.
All right.
So we're working on it.
Yeah, easy peasy.
Yeah, I mean, all right, that's on the list. That's a third tier Patreon.
Yeah.
Okay, so August 27th, it's coming up soon. World of Warcraft Classic's coming out. One of the coolest things that has happened in any online video game is the corrupted blood incident.
Fuck yes. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I've been waiting for it, and I've heard about this before as a non-WoWer or like a WoW.
A WoW virgin, I think.
I'm a no WoW. I'm a never WoW.
All of them are virgins, Ethan.
Yeah. You've heard of
World of Warcraftist.
World of Warcraft-less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think WoW is lazy. Frankly, is my beef with it.
Okay. Well, so this will be great for you, Peter, because I put a lot of definitions on what a WoW, like why this is important and why this is so cool to someone who knows like zero about WoW, and it also has a lot of content that'll be interesting for people who know a lot about WoW. So
both definitions and content make my dick hard. You're right.
Yes.
This will be good for me.
We're on webcam, and Peter is erect.
September 13th, 2005, a virtual pandemic swept through the world of Warcraft, and it is remembered as the Corrupted Blood Incident. It began when Blizzard released a new raid content. A raid, for those who don't know, it's a really hard group activity that took extreme precision and coordination across up to like 40 different players at the same time.
So I have a real question.
Well, I was just gonna say it's probably worth clarifying for the people who don't even know what WoW is. It is World of Warcraft, and it is an online MMORPG. If you listen to the podcast, you probably have a good idea of what it is. But basically, everybody's online all the time, and you can meet up with other people and play. It's been around for 15 years at this point.
Yeah, something crazy.
And so they're reverting back to the old ways with these new servers, which replicate early servers. And back then, like, the game was much harder, I think. When JB says a raid, nowadays the max raid size is a 20-man or 25-man, I think. And back in the day, you had up to 40-man raids, they reset once a week. So you get to try once in the week, and then you have to wait for it to reset if you mess it up. So.
Oh, really?
You have to organize 40 people.
Yeah, I got tons of info on this, and it's so intense back then. Like, if one person wiped, it could mean the whole team wiped. And like, imagine having to get all these 40 people on the same schedule to go do something, then one person fucks up and you have to start completely over. We have a hard enough time getting 3 people together to make a podcast.
Yeah, so like a WoW raid was basically just like you are one card in a house of cards in some cases, like depending on how hard it was. That's wild. Okay. I was too young for that. I wasn't playing enough video games at the time.
I was Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Ace, Jack, Blue Eyes White Dragon, King, Queen.
Pick up 4, change color.
King's Cup. Well, like you got 2 for you, 3 for me. Blue Eyes White Dragon. It's very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody chugs.
So to beat these raids, most of the time, the first time you entered with your group of insanely geared members, like you wouldn't even get through it the first time. You just bash your head against the first boss until you'd beat that guy, and then get one piece of gear that you would have to split amongst 40 people.
Yeah, that's just wild.
Yeah. There's systems to like get in line, so to say, to like get these pieces of gear, so it's not completely unfair, like such as DKP, which is dragging kill points. So the more times you run an Ixia, the more chance, like, you can spend your points to actually get that gear and outbid another person and things like that.
Okay.
But this is all kind of moderated amongst your guild, so people could just still like take the loot and run and leave the guild.
Yeah. So that was like a system that like guilds themselves or like big groups of people would implement, where they'd say like, okay, we've ran this, so we're giving everybody who showed up on Tuesday to do the run, all you people get 100 DKP. And then whoever gets it in the end, it goes to the guild no matter what. Like, it goes to the guild master, and then he gives it to somebody, and you can spend your DKP to buy it, basically. But that is not a Blizzard system. That is the guilds themselves moderated system.
Yeah, it's like an economy within the game that people invented.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in World of Warcraft now, and then you roll for loot. So you basically roll like a percentage die. So you get a number from 1 to 100. Whoever has the highest number wins. Nowadays in World of Warcraft, there's two ways to roll. There's need or greed. Greed is if you can't use the item, but you'll take it just to sell it or to disenchant it or to do whatever with it. And then there's need, which is like, hey, I'm going to use that item. It's better than what I have now. So there was a lot of griefing back in the day where people would just roll need on something that they just wanted to sell anyway, because there's nothing that said that you couldn't do it. So for a lot of these things, it's like, oh, it's plate armor, and you're like playing a mage, and you can't use it, but it's worth 1,500 gold, which like in WoW economy back in the day was like a lot of gold. So people would roll greed on it, just trying to get the item just to sell.
Also, like, there's certain classes that would do this more than others. Hunters had an especially bad reputation back in the day because a hunter could hold the sword and get its attributes, but used a bow to actually fight with. So it's a meme that all loot is hunter loot, because a hunter could use basically anything just for the attribute.
Oh, they just have a stat stick, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Stat dagger.
Most of these things, though, would go... by the way, for those of you who are interested in the Corrupted Blood incident, we are going to get there. We're just building the foundation right now.
Yeah.
For
the people who don't know the World of Warcraft.
Exactly. Most of the time when...
Congratulations on recovering from your coma.
Yeah. The last 15 years was wild.
Most of the time when there is a good piece of gear, it'll usually go to the group's tank or healer, because those roles are so important, actually, running rates.
And I'll explain to you what each role actually means in just a second.
So you guys probably know about this stuff just from nerd culture, but a tank is the designated damage taker. The goal of the tank is to hold the attention of the enemies and soak up as much damage as possible with their larger than average pool of health and their plate armor. In Classic WoW, warriors are ideal for this, and no one could quite do it as well as warriors because they had a stance that they could switch between, defensive and offensive. So they would switch to defensive stance, and it's called stance dancing. So they take the hit with its defensive, they could switch out, hit, and like, it's really kind of precise the way they had to switch in and out. Nowadays, most classes could play the role, except for like mages and priests.
Yeah, so as WoW kind of grew and kind of became really, really popular, and then the user base kind of tapered, and they stopped growing so much, and they just kind of stabilized, I guess, and started to decline somewhat. And Blizzard, in response to that, has been trying to make it more accessible, which I think is overall a good thing. Like, I think it's way easier to just pick up WoW now and just play, and like, it does hand feed you a lot of stuff, whereas with vanilla WoW or classic WoW, you really, like, you needed to know these things. You needed to get into a guild and have somebody explain it to you, because it's 2004 and you can't really search things on the internet still.
Pre-YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. You could find like forums and stuff, and you could talk to people there, or you could join a good guild and have people basically like explain these things to you. Like, yeah, you have to, anytime he's about to hit you, you have to switch into defensive stance, then switch back into your battle stance to do your own damage. Otherwise, because if you're not dealing enough damage, you're not going to hold what's called aggro. So the boss is going to go try and kill the person who's dealing the most damage to him.
Yeah. So that also lends to the next two types of roles, which is healer and DPS. So you never want your boss attacking your healer. Most of the time, it won't generate too much threat because he's not doing damage, but healing still generates threat. And it's exactly what it sounds like. A healer is trying to keep the tank alive using regenerative magic, but they also heal the DPS members in the group. But most of the time, except for specific boss mechanics, the DPS shouldn't be taking much damage. It's their job to stay out of the fire and do the damage.
Okay.
And DPS, shorthand for damage per second. They're the damage dealers of the group. Having strong DPS in the group makes the job of the healer and the tanks way easier because the enemies go down faster. In a lot of boss fights, there's what's called add-ons or adds, which are smaller enemies that spawn throughout, and it makes the tank's job a lot harder if there's a bunch of things doing damage. So the DPS should take out those adds so the tank can just focus on the main boss, and the healer faster can take down the main boss, the fewer cycles it'll go through, and the fewer bad shit that could happen.
I had no fucking idea what ads meant for a long time. That's like a legitimately new fact because it's used in games that I play now or like have played in the past. The other thing I don't know is I don't understand what proc means. I know what a proc is. Like you proc status, you poison somebody and they take damage over time. But why is it called a proc?
I don't know why it's called that, but it's just like to trigger something is when you proc.
Yeah.
Speaking of ads, is your back sore? Are you looking to buy a new mattress? Lore Boys straw-filled mattresses here. We're gonna take a quick.
Our sponsor for the week.
Yeah. And I've slept so well that I actually remember what a proc means. And a proc was originally short for spec_proc, which is special process. And these are things that are like spells that, for example, a frost mage gets all these icicles over their head. And whenever you generate one of these icicles, it's a special process that happens, and you can say it procs.
Oh, well, thank you. I
cool.
needed to know. At some point I had to find out. Yeah, and then you can get a poison proc or a fire proc, and then you've poisoned an enemy or lit them on fire or whatever. It's when you something occurs is a proc.
Look, I didn't come here to learn things. Okay, just learn about video games.
WoW is a video game.
You can see how hard difficult raid content would be, as there's 3 main roles, there's a bunch of different things you should do. On top of this, you need to have a good raid leader. It's typically played by the main tank that coordinates all of the 40 people to do the right things at the right time. These bosses have different mechanics. I think there's one in Naxxramas that everyone gets assigned either a positive or a negative, like a magnet, and you have to immediately identify what you are and split to the opposite side, so all the positives on one side, all the negatives on the other. If you didn't, then a huge explosion happened from your body and you would kill everyone on your team.
That's neat. Video games are neat, guys. Back in the day when developers gave a flying fuck about what they were putting out.
Yeah, I mean the raid content really is the bread and butter of what makes WoW so good. And it's it takes a long time to get there, and it's really a commitment, and you have to find people to do it with. But it can be super super rewarding whenever you get these things that work. These groups that work really well together, and everybody can coordinate and kind of get accomplish these crazy things, split 40 people to different sides of the room at the drop of a hat, while also trying not to step in fire or black holes and stuff.
And or blow up your friends.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so fucking cool. And Naxxramas, less than 1% even entered the dungeon or the raid dungeon, and way less than that actually completed it. Guilds fell apart because of this, because one person wouldn't go to the right side and things like that. So
it's such a neat little microcosm of human society, where it's just oh yeah, by the way, we managed to create and also destroy an entire tribe of people because the raid was hard enough. It's just oh yeah, the leadership of the guild fell apart because no one could agree on whether they were who was magnets.
Yeah, that's it.
And which one?
Yeah.
Who was magnets? And then everybody died.
And then if the tank's dying, right? It's is the tank not geared enough, or is it the healer's fault, or maybe the DPS is not killing stuff fast enough? So everyone just points fingers at everyone, and it can get messy real quick.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good way. It's a good way. A little observation for society, where it's just
There's there's a great video. It's animated, but it's a raid leader coordinating his guild through an Onyxia fight, who's a black dragon, and he just he gets so mad and he's screaming at everyone, and that DKP thing that Jamie mentioned, he just keeps deducting it from people in the middle of the raid. He's that's 50 DKP, and like that video, it's just the like all that they have is like the audio from it, and somebody did like shitty like stick art animations of like what's going on in the fight. But it became so popular that Blizzard in Hearthstone created a card called Raid Leader, and he says handle it because that's what the Raid Leader keeps telling people to do, to just like fucking handle it. So like, there's a shout out to this random guy from like the mid noughts who is just like an angry video game nerd, you know?
Yeah.
My God.
And it's actually really hard to find proper video of any of these raids. Like, there's a raid we're going to talk about soon, and I couldn't find a raid before it got patched by Blizzard. So,
yeah, I mean,
find the footage.
Like we said, like WoW came out in 2004, so like it was really popular around 2005 or 2006, 2006, I think. So yeah, it's like Peter said, like it's before YouTube. Like people weren't recording their video games nearly like today, where like everybody is and can. Like your phone can do it anytime you play a video game on your phone, you know?
Right. Yeah. So
I think we've established what a raid are.
That's exactly it.
What's the actual fucking episode about?
So yeah, that's it. I wanted to set up what a raid is and how it's meant to show that it's not meant for every player, and then talk about now how a mechanic from a raid was forced upon every single player. And
whether you wanted it or not.
Exactly.
I'll show those fucking cowards for not doing the raids.
Yeah.
So a raid called Zul'Gurub was released in September 13th, 2005. And the final boss was called Hakar the Soul Flare. Hakar, when he's confronted and attacked, it looks like a big, like, weird serpent type thing that stands up really tall, by the way. And when confronted and attacked, Hakar would cast a hit point draining, highly contagious debuff spell, which is like a status that gets added to a player, called Corrupted Blood. The text on the debuff, it deals 263 to 335 damage every 2 seconds, and it spreads to nearby allies. So I can give you, those numbers might not mean a lot. A level 60 geared tank, like really geared, would have up to around 8k health, but usually more around 5 or 6k. So it wasn't so bad for a level 60 fully geared tank. Even the DPS and healers were between 2 and 4k health, so this was manageable because it was draining 1k every 6 to 8 seconds or so.
Tank
So
get a little sweaty. He's just like, ooh, I don't feel great today, guys.
Yeah.
yeah,
Let me walk into a
Withered
and
corpse.
breathe on you.
Withered corpses next to him, like help us.
yeah. So like a tank would have more than a minute with this thing on it if it was the only damage it was taking, and it would be fine. But let's say like if this were somehow to get to a level 1 character, the first tick of damage would kill him.
How would it get to a
instantly.
level 1 character?
Yeah, so this effect was never supposed to leave the raid dungeon. But remember those lovely meme hunters that could just steal any loot that they wanted?
Yeah.
They found out that if they they found out that if they dismissed their pet while in the middle of the fight, and then resummon their pet outside of the raid dungeon, the effect stayed on the pet and would spread it to anyone who's nearby.
There's no fucking way that Blizzard could have known that. Like, that's like the Gandhi like loves nukes shit sort of thing. Where
exactly.
That's just a math problem in the background, where they're just like, oh, I'm sorry. None of our QA testers for some reason dismissed their pet and then resummon him after leaving. Like, oh, fuck us, right?
Yeah.
So it only takes one of these hunters. Oh, go ahead, Ethan.
I love that the hunters are like eco-terrorists now. I'll fucking summon my pet if you guys don't fucking... Here at Orgrimmar, somebody pay me 10,000 gold or I'm summoning my fucking pet and killing us all.
buddy, just calm down, walk away from the raptor or whatever fucking thing he does.
Look, I want the new mount, okay?
Shh, it's all good, man. We all want the new mount. It's all good. Why don't you just come downstairs and we'll give you a new mount, me and the police.
Yeah.
So it only took one hunter to summon this in a crowded area for the disease to start spreading. Cities have characters from level 1 to 60, and like I said earlier, for anyone who's not a fully geared level 60 character, it's only going to take a few seconds till you're dead, and if you're anywhere like less than level 50, you'll probably die almost right away. So most players couldn't survive long enough to get to a healer. Like, in the actual dungeon, the players could kind of like fan out and separate from each other to like prevent this from actually like spreading back to their own players. So
it had like
healer had
like an aura range sort of thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the healers could kind of start healing them and like taking the debuff off. But in a city where healers are not usually the most common class, everyone wants to play a damage dealer.
Yeah.
It happens pretty quickly. And then when you die in World of Warcraft, so right now, by the way, you can picture Ironforge or Orgrimmar, where there's literally 0 people. There's usually so many people that you have to look at the ground to stop lag. And now there's
back on the 2004 graphics cards where too many characters would melt your fucking laptop through your legs.
My Pentium 2 processor can't handle all this people.
Whoa, 2 people. Whoa, too rich for my blood.
So when you die in World of Warcraft, you have 2 options. You can either run back to your body as your spirit and then jump back in your body and you're resurrected, or you can stay at the graveyard and resurrect yourself, and you get a 10-minute debuff that makes you not able to do fucking anything, and you also take damage to your gear.
I remember that.
So you're encouraged to run back to your body, but the city is filled with infected people. And so you start rezzing yourself, and it's a mess, because you would think that, okay, this would happen, and then everyone would just die once, and then it would be over, right? Acted as carriers. They had extremely high health, and some of them were actually just immune to this, so they would hold the disease, but they wouldn't die. So you could not go to cities.
Well, you had like an NPC who had like 5 trillion health just to make sure he didn't get killed, but he was a carrier of this fucking disease, and it would just like kill everyone around him.
Yeah, and it made it so you could go back in.
So I know like. The leaders of the 2 factions, there's 2 factions, the Alliance and the Horde in World of Warcraft, and the leaders of the 2 factions are considered raid bosses. So you're supposed to have like 40 plus fully geared people go into the enemy city to try and kill their leader. It has a health pool like 40 plus times as big as your average geared level 60 player.
Oh my god. Because I've seen screenshots from this where it's just like a nice clean medieval city just littered with corpses.
Yeah, some people called it the day the plague wiped out Ironforge. It lasted an entire week.
Jesus.
Blizzard had like 3 or 4 patches and just couldn't quite get it. They didn't want to just remove the raid content because they're like, no, our raid's too good. We don't want to just kill the raid. We got to patch this right.
Yeah.
Guy run into the server room with like a fire axe. He's like, come fucking do it. I don't want to get out of the real world.
So this created a bunch of weird fucking human behavior after this, right?
Yeah.
People who acted as terrorists, but like purposely spreading the plague. They would like run to actual refugee camps where their people had powerful priests who were healing people, and then terrorists coming in and storming them with. It was crazy.
If I'm gonna be sick, we're all gonna be sick.
Refugee camps have like storm wind.
Yeah, right.
Oh my god.
And just like, could you imagine, like, I'm going to go home and play World of Warcraft, and, like, you log on, and what you do, you're like, well, I'm a level 60 priest, I'm going to be standing outside Orgrimmar just casting debuffs, or, like, removing debuffs from people, because they need it, you know what I mean? I'm helping, I'm making the world a better place, and you just, like, feel good about yourself, like, get home from a long day of work or whatever, like, let's log on and just go fucking cast a remove magic spell. Like,
that's absolutely mental. I can't believe there was... Well, I mean, I can't believe it's the internet. So obviously there were clearly people who were going to just, like, troll everybody around them.
Yeah.
But the fact that you had, like, tiny micro... Like, WoW itself is a micro society where people need to organize to get through fucking raids. But then you have tinier micro societies of people terrified of other people. And, like you can't shake anyone's hand in fake life.
Yeah.
I will say too, like World of Warcraft, as somebody who played a lot of it back in the day, like it was very addictive as far as video games go, and it's like it's a game that rewards time spent more than anything else. Like you have to spend time in World of Warcraft to get anything done. You have to stand by a forge and like craft 800 copper bars to level up your blacksmithing. And it's like when this was happening, I can totally imagine like I would still be logging on too probably if I'd been playing at the time.
Just
it's like
praying to God.
yeah, like I gotta go get my quest done or whatever, you know. And you're just like I'm not gonna go to major cities. I'm gonna go hang out. But if I die once, if you go to the crossroads and there's like the plague is there, I'm getting sick. You know what I mean? Because I'm a level 14 like character on the horde. Like where am I gonna go other than the crossroads? That's where all the quests are.
Yeah,
you see signs out there, just fucking skull and crossbones everywhere.
Yeah.
You're just like, man, I thought I fucking played video games to escape real life. This is awful.
But imagine being that like really strong character, like that tank that can hold on to this thing for a couple minutes and just running around with a healer and just fucking everyone's day up. Man, that would be so much fun.
There's definitely some charm to it.
Yeah, this is absolutely wild, and it attracted the attention of real-world scientists, epidemiologists, people who study terrorism, just basically anyone who wanted to have a model of something that had the direction of human behavior and also an illness or something that was brought from a small place to a larger.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually crazy how this little microcosm got so much attention. Like, people who don't even play have an idea of what this is. And so scientists held a conference in Baltimore, Maryland, and talked about this outbreak. Gotta get my peers together for this one, dude.
Yes. you said a Tauren was killed? And what are they? Are they like
man.
So this is a bovine issue. This is a problem with cattle. Then it's got to do with the food somehow.
I
no,
would
I think
love to be at Blizzard for this. Where it's just like, guys, we fucked up. We are too powerful.
Yeah. Do you think like a keynote speaker from Blizzard got invited to this scientist conference, like this conference of like epidemiologists? It was like, yes, I'm from the Blizzard. We're the ones who created the virus and injected it into the population.
So they compared it to a real life epidemic that originated in a remote, uninhabited region, and was carried by travelers to larger regions, such as like. I know the hosts were both animal and human because it was traveled through pets, right? So they compared it to the bird flu.
Okay.
It was passed through close contact. There were people. In this case, the non-playable characters were the carriers. They were asymptomatic. Which is just fucking wild, dude.
Yeah, the NPCs were basically just like virus dispensers because they couldn't die.
Yeah, they're just vectors for the disease, right?
And there's some that like patrol areas too. They're not all stationary. Like,
oh no,
you can predict where the disease is going to move. based on a given day, you know where it's going to be. Like, it's a disease on a schedule. Like,
yeah, man. Like Rexar, who is the hunter character in Hearthstone, and he has a pet named Misha, which is a giant bear. They roam just an entire province. So, like, if he got it, that province was just fucked. It probably couldn't go there.
Yeah.
You have people, like, running for their fucking lives from one guy.
Yeah, anytime you see him.
Yeah, this giant bear.
A friendly NPC, like, anytime you see him, like,
hello, traveler, how are you? She's like, get away from me! Take anything you want!
Yeah, you monster.
This is only transferred between allied characters, too, which is a weird, not like the Alliance, don't mix that up, but characters that are on your side. So,
like friendly NPCs and friendly players.
Could have been one of the first times that the Horde and the Alliance agreed on something that this disease fucking sucked because they were both just internally suffering.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's interesting because in World of Warcraft, like there is player versus player, and usually it's faction based. So usually it's like you're a Horde, you're fighting against the Alliance, or you're an Alliance, you're fighting against the Horde. And this was like the very thing where you could like do these terrorist acts against your own faction, kind of thing. Like the first time you could be like a turncloak and like.
Yeah, man. No, it's insane. It's so cool that it's something that was never intended and just like swept the internet. Honestly, I wish I was playing back then. It would be really cool if during WoW Classic, if they had like a day where we did this. It would be so much fun.
Honestly, like I don't know if they would do it, but like That would have been the coolest thing to be there when this happened, because it must have just been like pandemonium all the time.
Fascinating, yeah. I just love the idea that there's probably like one line of code somewhere in the spaghetti code behind WoW, and like some guy was just like, whatever, it's a typo, I'll fix it in the morning, and they shipped it, and then he's created like this little like laser focused beam on humanity where he's just like, oh, overnight I accidentally created EcoTerrorists, carriers, and then a bunch of other micro societies in which people were too paranoid to speak to each other and like lived out in fake fields and fake tents, just like, oh my god, I didn't realize I was so powerful. I'm an intern. I made
a mistake, and then I accidentally contributed to a field of science.
Yeah, exactly.
Does he get his name in the research paper, or?
You should name a bacteria after him at some point.
Yeah, right.
There's like a tiny bug named after Gary Larson, the artist for The Far Side.
Oh yeah. Gary Larson also coined the term for Stegosaurus's tail with the 4 spikes.
The Thagomizer.
The Thagomizer, yeah. Fun Gary Larson facts for you.
This recent wave of terrorism we shall call the Kaplan effect.
Yeah, Jeff Kaplan. Hey guys, another Overwatch update here. We've introduced contagious diseases and also racism, so that's going to be really fun for the game. What we've decided to do is make people too paranoid to play with each other in our co-op shooter. Anyway, that's my impression of Jeff Kaplan.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
I liked it.
Yeah. He's got thin lips and his tongue gets in the way of his teeth. That's just when I look at him talk.
Okay.
Whatever. Fucking change my mind.
Yeah, get at us, Jeffy Cap. Come on.
Yeah.
But you're mentioning that the code was all spaghetti, right? Like right now they're about to release WoW Classic again, or WoW Vanilla, and the current team didn't know how to do it because they've come so far from that. They don't even have access to the old code.
Yeah.
They relied a lot on Astralis, which was a private server. They hired most of the guys off of who were just passionate about the old game and made the private server to come and make their actual release.
Good. Yeah, I mean that happens a lot. Like at Valve, fucking Team Fortress, Counter-Strike, Dota are all that hired the teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the people who made Firewatch got hired as well. They're making some kind of like archaeology game that looks pretty neat. Can't remember. Cool.
I own Firewatch, so I haven't played it.
I haven't played it either.
There we go.
I'm pretty sure the stress test is open to everyone right now, too, if anyone wants to get in there. I've been in Mexico, and I would totally be in there if I wasn't, but I've seen like Reddit posts of people playing. So if you want to play Vanilla WoW before the 27th, I think you can. Also, so in an analysis of the Corrupted Blood incident, Charles Blair, Deputy Director of the Center of Terrorism and Intelligence Studies.
Jesus Christ. This is like the Area 51
fucking phone call.
Yeah, this is like the Area 51 Naruto runner brief all over again, right?
Yeah, he said that World of Warcraft could provide a useful way to study how terrorist cells form and operate.
It's just nuts.
While his organization already uses computer models to study terrorist tactics, Blair explained that because World of Warcraft involves real people making real decisions in a world with controllable bounds, it could provide a more realistic model for military intelligence analysts.
Gee, can you fucking imagine the next day after programming in that bug? It's like, you've got a phone call. Who is it? The CIA.
Yeah. What do they want?
Some fucking questions.
Yeah, what do they want? Something about terrorist cells?
Yeah, you created a bunch of terrorist cells by accident? Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna need about a bunch of level 60 accounts and tier 3 raid gear sent to the CIA by Monday, right?
Yeah. I want it on my desk. I want this armor on my desk on Monday.
Yeah, the old shitty JPEG that WoW Loot used to have, where it's the same picture for everything.
Yeah.
Dr. Gary Smith, professor of population biology and epidemiology at the University of Pennsylvania, commented that very few mathematical models of disease transmission take host behavior into account, which makes this game accident even more interesting as a model.
surprising that it took people this long to just make a digital disease. Like you'd think like a lab somewhere would have just done the exact same thing on purpose at some point just to study how people behave.
So I think what it boils down to is like people were invested in World of Warcraft and their characters and their progression. It's like, how do you get people to care about this study that they're participating in? You know?
Yeah, it's hard to have like an eco-terrorist who doesn't give a shit about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sample size wise too, you have 2 million active players at this time. So are you going to get 2 million fucking people paid for a study, right?
Yeah.
You can't.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Blizzard kind of leaned into this mistake. They fixed it after a week and a few patches, but they had 2 more.
CIA hung up.
Yeah.
In 2008, they had a great zombie plague, and this was an event to promote Wrath of the Lich King. Yeah. And basically, there is something that you could get which turned you into a zombie, and in a similar way, you could turn people around you into a zombie, but it wasn't 100% transmission rate. It's like, just if you were around one, like a real disease, you had a chance of catching zombieism.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this wasn't like it wasn't like the corrupted blood in that it wasn't like it wouldn't actually kill your characters. It was more like it wasn't even like really a debuff. It was more just kind of like a buff or like a status change, really.
Yeah, cosmetic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it changed the actual like stats at all, but it was just like good fun, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to create a plague twice.
Yeah,
certainly not by accident.
In 2017, another accidental one happened. There's green fire debuff, which so that's I think that's during Legion. There was a boss. I didn't look into it that much, but it had a similar debuff that hurt you, and it could spread as well. But the radius was much smaller, and it didn't affect NPCs in the same way, so it wasn't clearing out cities. Yeah.
You'd think they wouldn't make that mistake twice, which is odd. It's just like, wait a second, I thought I fired the person who made that last fucking deal. Yeah. God damn it.
It was the hunter thing again. It was just the hunter pets.
Yeah. Was it actually?
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, you think they would just remove, like if you unsummon your pet, any, like, persistent debuffs get removed kind of thing. Like, after the first time this happened, I would have thought. Like,
yeah.
I would have thought to say anything too controversial, and I'm not a prejudiced man myself, but I'm just saying, maybe we shouldn't trust hunters. I'm just... like, whatever, like, maybe I'd hire a hunter, but I don't know if my daughter married one. Super fucking
Oh my god.
Hey, that's the Kaplan effect. Don't let that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we actually like zoomed through this. You guys were actually listening to me and not talking.
I super interesting content. This stuff anyway. Like, it's so cool. Like the real world implications of like a random issue with a video game.
Yeah.
It's much more difficult to like. I mean, obviously we've been goofing a bit, but it's a much more difficult to goof on something when you're just like, I cannot. When you're just like stunned that the government showed up and they were just like, "Okay, fellas, we got some fucking questions."
This is our World of Warcraft episode, which realistically may have featured CIA kill squads. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
So one thing I did want to say about the classic release that's coming up, Ethan kind of mentioned that as the player base stopped growing, they made it easier and easier to enter the game. They took off all the corners. They like baby-proofed the game kind of thing. Like, you could, no matter what you do, you're going to be making progression. You're going to be having fun in a little way. Something that's really fun about Vanilla WoW, for those who are ready to jump into it, is that this is just a game that it will fuck you up. If you are not good and you take 2 enemies on at once in the starting area, you're going to fucking die. Like, it's going to be fun. It's going to be intense. Like, there's going to be stakes.
Yeah, it's a high stakes game. Like, as far as games are concerned, it's high stakes because it's time investment. You need to invest time to get stuff out of it, and so whenever you waste time, it feels like a bigger thing because you're spending real life time to get these things, right?
Yeah.
I actually WoW passed me by like throughout my entire life. I didn't have the computer at the time, and I really wasn't playing enough games when WoW was like fucking king dick of
Yeah.
of pop culture.
I'll say like that's like where Jamie and I really started to bond. I think like we hung out, and like we went to parties and stuff, and like you came to stay with me, and then like you were staying with my family, and we had an extra WoW account. I used to play with my dad a lot, actually.
Oh, cool.
Never a big gamer. He got really into World of Warcraft with me for a long time. So like me and my dad really
Level
really
56 shaman or something?
We like
shaman.
I like Cake was his shaman's name.
I like cake.
Yeah, my warrior's name was I Lost My Dog, and he was I Like Cake. And
Father-son duo.
Yeah, and then Jamie moved in, and he had kind of like slowed down playing, I guess. And Jamie just like grabbed his account and started playing with me.
It was Andrew's account, actually. Yeah.
Oh, was it Andrew's? Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it was like WoW back in the day, and I don't play it nearly as much anymore. I still pick it up whenever there's a new expansion. I have a couple max level characters, and like I could grind up a couple more if I needed to. But I like vanilla WoW, and like back in the day playing WoW in high school was some of the funnest gaming times I've ever had, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like even in I played the stress test, right, for a couple months back. I got to play with a huge streamer. I got into their guild. I killed another huge streamer in Orgrimmar. There was like 40 of us standing at the gates of Orgrimmar. We were watching the stream, so we knew this guy's like other raid was coming, and like we're all screaming like Loktar because we're Horde and their alliance, and like it was like a 40-on-40 battle at the gates of our city, and like
that's amazing.
Things just can't happen in other games. Like MMOs do that so well, right?
Yeah.
Was it a relevant kill? Or did you just run over and sneeze into his open mouth and then just?
Yeah. Go to play.
I was playing an undead priest, but
okay.
Another thing too that's going to be really cool about Classic WoW is the way that the game is set up now. You do not need to be social in any way. You can just press. You can just like join a game, right? You're like, oh, I want to join a raid, and you join like a party, and it just like automatically teleports you to the raid. Then you get to do the raid, and if you know what you're supposed to do, you don't have to actually talk to people. Back then, you have to go to the city. You say, I have 3 healers, I have 4 tanks, I need this many DPS, I need this many healers. All right, and then you all actually just take a fucking Zeppelin and you go to this thing together.
Yeah.
Then you go to the front gate, and then you actually like have to fight through each and every boss. And then you don't break up just because one thing goes wrong, because it took you so long to actually build this group. Yeah. So you work through it. You say, okay, what went wrong there? Okay, heals, I really need you to focus here a little bit more. DPS, make sure to hit those ads. Okay, let's try that again. And then, oh no, that didn't quite work out. Let's back up and figure out how this works. And
fun thing, which I played WoW for a long time, and I never knew this, but I was talking with somebody at work the other day who's also very excited, who plays a lot of WoW and is very excited about Classic coming out. But so every dungeon had a summoning stone, and you could get somebody from the party to go to that summoning stone. And then they could summon like all the other members of the party there, kind of thing. Apparently, if you talked to innkeepers in major cities, they could teleport you to that summoning stone, which is something I feel like nobody knew at the time. But yeah, I'm told this, and he was like, yeah, like I used to play vanilla WoW and found that out like a couple like a year ago or whatever, you know, like years after he's like so much
a decade later.
Yeah, that's it. So much wasted time spent like walking to places, basically. Like in vanilla WoW, it was level 40. You got your first slow mount, which was a 20% movement speed increase. You know what I mean? Yeah, like it would take you hours to walk across the continent from like north to south, or you know.
Right. Yeah, it's so insane, and I'm actually so excited. I have 2 weeks booked off work when it actually comes out, so I'm going to be diving headlong into it.
It's not an addiction thing, it's just very lucky, right?
Yeah.
I justify it as I still have a lot of student loans to pay, and I have 5 weeks of vacation to take, so it is the most affordable vacation I can take.
Yeah,
it's only $15 per month, but
it's a vacation to Azeroth.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a staycation.
No, I will be going so many places, dude. I'm in Mexico right now, but I'll be in more places whenever I'm home playing World of Warcraft.
I don't have no life. I choose to have many fucking gamers, right?
Guys, as far as our brand is concerned, we can't make fun of this stuff.
No, God damn it. Okay, cut that.
Fake worlds are great. Yeah.
Well,
We love
I
it.
obviously believe that. I obviously believe that because I'm doing it.
You're taking the vacation. You're taking the vacation's booked.
Yeah, exactly.
You got your Zeppelin ticket.
Change your Tinder bio and just announce that. Just be like, yeah, whatever. 27, single,
Yeah.
taking vacation in Azeroth. It's like, but only because it's hard now. It's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
I'm a healer, like looking for tank or
Yes!
DPS. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what?
Glad.
Swipe left if you won't change my diaper and get my pizza pockets. Okay.
Yeah. Swipe
Wash your
left.
hands before you come to Stormwind.
Yeah. Swipe left. All hunters swipe left.
Yeah, especially the hunters. It's fucking prejudice. Out Tinder bio.
Yeah. Well, anyways, guys, that was a little bit shorter than our average episode, but I think that there's a lot of really cool content there. If you guys want to hear more types of stuff like this, like there's, for example, there's one weapon that was put into the game by accident. It was left in a loot table. One person earned it during Classic WoW, and then they removed it from the loot tables of all games, and only one person in the entire world has this item. There's a bunch of really cool stories in WoW. If you guys like this type of stuff, let us know, because I love talking about it. So
Yeah, it's definitely cool. And yeah, this was kind of a shorter episode. We do have an episode 100 coming up, as we mentioned last week. So again, to the people who have been reaching out to us, like awesome, thank you for the reviews, thank you for the emails. We super appreciate it, and let us know if there's something that you guys want to hear. So the 100th episode is coming up. This one might be a little bit shorter. It's not that much shorter, but it's a little bit shorter than we normally run. But we'll have some bonus content coming out for you guys for the episode 100 anyway. So honestly, if you think about it, you owe us, I think, more than anything.
I agree. You do owe us, actually. Yeah.
We're out here putting
Can we read Aiden's email, actually? We have a bit of time, and it was such a nice thing that he sent to us. We had
he went out of his way to email us and appreciate our work. I don't really deserve us to read it out loud.
Vamping. All right, so
for anyone who wants to send us one of these emails, you can at loreboyspodcast@gmail.com, and it absolutely makes my day. I would just worked like a 9-hour day, and I was feeling all out of sorts, and you put the hugest, stupidest grin on my face. So
yeah,
thank you.
I was sitting at home, celebrating my birthday, and I got this email, and it was just like, it was the best birthday gift. So Aiden says, hey boys, I recently found out your podcast by accident and have since blasted through just about every episode on iTunes at work. I made sure to leave a 5-star review as well, winky face, which thank you. We need that.
It's so important.
You guys are hilarious, informative, and really easy to listen. I've recommended your podcast to my girlfriend and some friends at work, and they all love the boys. Just want to say thank you for making my days at work a hell of a lot more enjoyable, and will definitely be supporting your Patreon. Also, I had a couple ideas for episodes that I personally like to see. Continuation of the Mass Effect series. Also, remember hearing one of the boys saying they really like the Metro trilogy, which is Peter and I. So some of your favorite games, thank you Aiden. That really it means the world to us that you reach out like that. Super great to get your email, and we'll definitely continue with Mass Effect and Metro just because you asked. Also, Pillars of Eternity. I have been doing my reading or whatever. I don't think I'm actually going to end up getting through the game, so I'm at the point where I'm just reading now. I'm just trying to curate an episode that's not too spoilery, basically. My next episode will be the finale for the Kamal's Odyssey and the Mirari and his sister, Phage / Jessica, or Jessica / Phage.
Nice. My
name's Ethan Palmer. You can reach me personally at Ethan the Dead Man. We are doing this call on Discord right now. I imagine when WoW Classic comes out, maybe Jamie and I will play a couple days, and we'll use our Discord channel. We do have one. It's not very active, other than Mecha Paladin, who's pretty much the only person who's hanging out in there with us right now. But we'd love to see more of your faces, more of your avatars, I guess. And Mecha Paladin, there's always more 40k coming, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I will for sure be on that game for a very long time. So if you guys want to play with me, let me know what servers you're at. You can hit me up on Instagram. This is probably the best place to reach me while I'm in Mexico. And you can follow my wonderful travels, TLB. TLB meaning the Lore Boys. So James Miller _TLB. That's the best place to reach me for now. How about you?
Moi, well, I'm at Pete O'Donohue on Twitter and at Lore Boys Podcast on Instagram. That's where we, hustle a little bit. I'm catching up. I've been busy and sad, so I'm catching up on all the artwork and shit. And I'm getting there. There's a lot. I've done like 4 recently, and I'm very happy with the way things are going. It's honestly, the art is like riding a bike. And then of course loreboyspodcast at gmail.com if you want us to read an email, and also just like make us very happy. I do want to call out that Aiden officially, I think, means that, because he said he was from Australia. Australia at this point now, I'm gonna say, is the greatest country on earth because they like to send emails. Overtaking for us Canada and the United States, which were like,
and Uzbekistan was up there.
We got an email from Israel, but only one. So
Liechtenstein was pretty good. There's lots of great countries.
Yeah, one thing I did want to say, the reason why Peter says art is like riding a bike is because he always wears a helmet while doing it.
Yeah, I don't want to get hurt. Yeah. And fingerless gloves.
Yeah. So anybody who wants to support the show, we do have a Patreon. It's paused right now.
It's paused until September 2019. Yeah, so like 3 more weeks at time of recording.
If you sign up,
Peter had a pang of guilt. Peter had a pang of guilt when he realized that we weren't putting out the kind of content that he wanted, and he was like, "Our listeners deserve better than this," and he like threw the Patreon out of the window. But that's
absolutely true. Yeah, there was a stack of Patreon on my desk, and I just like.
We picked it up. We've dusted it off, so it's back up and running. You can go there now. You can pledge, and then when September rolls around, it'll contribute from your wallet to ours, which we really appreciate. Anybody who is not patient enough to wait till September, which trust me, I get it. Life is crazy. You never know when the world's going to end. So if you're really trying to get at us now, there's still Lore Boys Premium. We have been working on some pretty exciting stuff. We're genetically engineering disease, which will kill you. And we're looking for volunteer vectors to give it to their pets, basically, and then send their pets out into the world to infect the population. So if you want to be a part of this fun experiment, it's $72 a month. And we'll basically get your name. We'll send you a little sample of the virus, and you can give it to your budgie, or you can give it to your tortoise, or whatever. We'd rather
one thing that's
normal pets that everybody's got, a budgie or a tortoise.
Yeah, well, we would we would prefer you give it to something faster than a tortoise, just because it'll help it spread faster. But if all you have is a tortoise, then that's fine.
And for all of you who work that 9 to 5, eat the same thing every day when you wake up in the morning, go to bed at the exact same time, completely routine, maybe you should wake up because you might be an NPC and we need you.
Yeah.
Without a carrier, this disease will not survive.
Yeah. Did you?
How else am I going to meet Mr. or Mrs. CIA?
Yeah. Were you considering voting third party this election cycle? Well, you might be an NPC, and boy, do we have a proposition for you.
Drink this.
I guess that constitutions a Lore Boys.
Lore Boys.
Oh,
Watch
out for the Kaplan effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't trust anyone you meet; they might be sick.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Don't cut Jamie off. Let me write this down.
I should probably get that tattooed onto me, or else I'll fucking forget.
Don't cut Jamie off.
Don't cut Jamie off.
Cool.